We're virtually at the halfway mark of the NBA season, so let's do a rookie report. What did we think we got? What did we get? What's better than expected? And where are they in the process? It's next on Locked On Jazz. Bum 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 bum.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Give you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all podcasting apps, as well as on YouTube. My voice is evidently tired. Sorry about that. I'm learning it kind of at the same time you are. That's what happens when you do a podcast first thing in the morning. You haven't talked yet, and you start talking. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. Here's what we got. I've got a really interesting late game watch. I've watched 3 Grizzlies, a Rockets, 2 Rockets, and a Wolves, and I think they're 3 really interesting teams. The Rockets and the Grizzlies are 2 and 3 in the West, but are they really that good? Minnesota keeps trying to figure this thing out. Can they? And then, so they're fascinating to watch. And 2 of those teams are not very good in the clutch. And one of them is, did we figure out why? We'll look at Tankathon a little bit because, one, there's just too many teams tanking. And then it's actually really interesting to see what's going to happen here. And I'll show that to you here in just a moment. But first, we're going to start with our rookie report on the year. We're at game 39. Game 39. So that's basically the halfway mark. So let's look at Isaiah Collier, Kyle Filipowski, and Cody Williams. What did we think we got? What did we get? What's better than expected? And what might be more of an issue than we thought? So let's go reverse order and start with Kyle Filipowski, who was the 32nd pick of the draft. And what did we think we got? Well, the question on Filipowski, what we thought we got was an offensive-minded, versatile big man. Good passing, good floor spacing, kind of the most common talked about player in the midst of that was Kelly Olynyk. So that's what we thought we got. What did we get? And what's better than expected, I would say, was his physical strength. The item that I didn't realize on Kyle is he's just much physically stronger than I anticipated or saw. And that has allowed him to generally play right away. And I think kind of hold his ground on a bunch of things. One of the big questions on him coming in when what did we get was, is he a 4 or a 5? I think that's really undefined still. And defensively, the weaknesses that I think he slid to 32 are showing a little bit more recently than I think they did earlier in the season. He's getting blown by a few times. His lack of length is showing. I think that, he's playing more, league seeing him. That's become a little bit more evident, I think, in play as of late. In regards to what we thought we got and what we got, the passing is 100% everything we thought we got. And the ball moving and the versatility as an offensive player, every bit of that is what we thought we got. That has turned out to be as special as we anticipated, as anyone anticipated. The excuse me. The other aspect of Flip that I think is interesting is, and this is something I've harped on, his go-to college move, which was that spin move in the paint, doesn't translate. And so he's trying to figure out what is his next way of scoring. And if you've watched him recently, I think he's become much more perimeter based than he was before. Like if you look at his last kind of stretch of consistent play since January, particularly in the last 4 games, and those could also just be the matchups, but I think he's at something like 15 of his last 23 shots are threes. The physical play, I think, what did we get we didn't expect? I think as strong as he is, I don't think he's been bounced around a lot in his life. And he's getting beat up a little bit. And I think it's beginning to take a little bit of a wear and tear on maybe it's a rookie wall, in the way he's playing. I think he, number one high school player in the country, you don't get a lot of people coming in and trying to bang you around and you're playing at Duke. I think he's, at his best on a rebound, open floor and making plays, top of the key, conducting. I think he's having a harder time getting banged around. Now, he did have 11 boards last night. His defensive rebounding is really another one I would say is better than I thought, but that goes back to the physical strength that he has. So I think what I would say on the physical strength is it's better than I expected. Now he has to learn how to use it, and he has to learn how to use it through contact. I think he's just been bigger and stronger than everybody's ever played in his whole life, which I don't think it would be my surprise. On the what did we think we got? What did we get? That's the big surprise to me on Filipowski. It's how physically ready he is, that particularly trunk down. But also I think that means that he's just physically stronger than everyone he ever played against. The passing, the court vision is better. It's just really, really, really good. It's really, really, really good. I think the shooting is going to go under the category of more of an issue than we thought. Now, maybe not the NBA. He slipped to 32nd for a reason. And he's coming off a 3-for-4 3-point shooting game. And in the summer league, I thought he really changed his shot and had done a wonderful job and kind of adapted and changed it. The two things that jump out on Filipowski and his Duke resume, and is probably why he dropped to 32nd in the draft, were his college numbers from 3 and his free throw shooting. So at Duke, for 2 years, he shot 31% from 3. And his free throw shooting was 71.8. Neither of those are great. Neither of those would usually be kind of signs that you're about to be a great NBA three-point shooter. Free throw shooting is usually a better indicator than free throw shooting is a better indicator than three-point shooting because it shows touch. And even in Filipowski's first year at Duke, he only shot 44% overall. So far in his NBA career, buoyed by a little bit by the good 3-for-4 game the other night, he's shooting 29.6% from 3, and he's shooting 60% at the free throw line. His above the break versus his corner 3 shooting split is significant. And I remember this well with Ochai Agbaji because I did a big research project on whether if you can shoot the corner 3, does it eventually mean that you'll be able to shoot the above the break 3? And the answer was no. I was convinced that if you shot the corner 3, eventually you'd be able to take it out to an above the break 3. That did not turn out to be true. Now, we're 40 games into a rookie season, so let's be gentle on proclamations. But so far, Filipowski on the corner 3 is shooting 41% on 27 attempts. And his above the break 3 is 19% on 27 attempts. So you really would like to have your big be able to stretch the floor on the above the break. The high quadrant big is a really valuable thing, particularly with the way Kyle can move the basketball. His greatest strength, moving the basketball, seeing the floor, passing, versatile, being able to put it on the deck, will be increased if he can make the above the break 3. If you're just posting him in the corner, then he's just a floor spacer. So that's going to be an interesting little development. Overall, 32nd pick of the draft. I think you got a pretty high-level skilled player with a body that's pretty ready for the NBA, who's caught in between sizes, whose shooting is a little suspect, and that's why he went to 32nd, and his defense, kind of what we thought. I'd say his strength and his passing is better than we thought, and maybe some of the weaknesses are a little bit more, which means there's more work to being done than we anticipated. So that's our rookie report on Kyle Filipowski. Let's look at Isaiah Collier and Cody Williams as we continue on Locked On Jazz. Today's show is brought to you by Murdoch Chevy, located in Woods Cross and in Logan, the Chevy truck, the Silverado. Oh my gosh, the Silverado. So great. You feel like you're riding up there above the world, bigger, stronger, faster, powerful, yet at the same time, the comfort of a lazy boy chair. It's just totally incredible. That's Chevy, Americana, the Chevy truck, and the Murdochs are Utah. So there's not much of a better combination than the Murdochs and Chevy together. Plus, Murdoch Chevy's got all sorts of other deals for you going on with the great lineup of SUVs, highlighted by the Suburban and the Tahoe, and, of course, the Blazer and the Trailblazer with the Equinox on the bottom end of it. Size-wise, not talent-wise. Don't go Equinox, don't go feeling slighted. Plus, the 2024 Suburban has $9,000 off right now. It is Murdoch Chevy over in Woods Cross. If you're going to stop by, feel free to email me at dlock09@gmail.com. That's dlock09@gmail.com so we can take care of you over at Murdoch Chevy. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Use the code Locked On NBA. Why is Game Time the official ticketing app of Locked On? And why is Game Time my answer for why I need tickets right now, like wife's birthday? Because they have all sorts of great features. I've always loved Game Time because I get all in pricing and I get views of the seats. But now Game Time's added Game Time Picks, and this feature filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Amazing deals. See your seat beforehand. Super deal. Particularly great. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? It's game time. Thanks for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all podcasting apps, as well as YouTube and the daily newsletter. All right, we have a problem. The Sacramento Kings caught us. Their 7-game win streak. They've got a bunch of subscribers. People are fired up. We're losing. They're winning. People are fired up. I need you to subscribe to the newsletter, please. I want you to subscribe to the newsletter, please, because I think it's great. And the Raptors are about to catch me also. I was all right with the Lakers and the Warriors and the Celtics catching me. They're very large markets. But please, we give you exclusive Empty the Noggin. We give you a breakdown on what's going on with the Jazz. It's a great quick read. Plus, Katie Heindel writes a national article for you every day that's exclusive just to the newsletter, and Josh Wood gives you exclusive fancy tips. It's your one-stop, ultimate stop for all NBA reading. Get it at LockedOnDaily.com. Subscribe, Locked On Jazz. Don't subscribe to Locked On Kings or Locked On Raptors, though. They're catching me. All right. Let's do our Isaiah Collier. Isaiah Collier was the 29th pick of the draft. What did we think we got? And what did we get? To me, this one's really divergent. So the shooting was what... But I had a vision from watching Isaiah Collier at USC of someone who was a little reckless, frankly. I knew that we were getting amazing speed, great power, ability to get on the rim, and ability to beat someone. I loved him in the draft because he had the ability just to beat someone off the dribble with one step, boom, boom, in a way that almost nobody else in this entire draft did. Richard didn't. I didn't think Stephen Castle did. I really didn't think there was much of anyone else in the entire draft who could just beat you off the bounce the way Isaiah Collier can. That has turned out to be true. We also got the speed, and we also got the power. So that's all what we thought we got, and what we got are true. What's better than expected, I didn't realize what a good court vision he had. I didn't realize how well he saw the game. I'm super impressed by the ability to play with pace and play with a thrust. Those are better than I thought. And I don't know if it was just USC style. I don't know if it's a stereotype of watching 6'2", ball handling, driving, AAU raised guards who come into the NBA who I just would think don't know how to play with teammates. But this dude knows how to play with teammates. It's awesome. The shooting, I'm super curious to watch. I do think it's more of an issue than we thought. He was not in the danger zone coming out of college with his numbers. But I remember saying, literally, if you go back and listen to my shows on him, it's hard to forget the ball that misses the entire basket. Not just the rim, the basket, the glass. Or like when he misses sometimes, it's so extreme. And it's super hard to wipe. This was my draft analysis of Isaiah Collier. It's like it's super hard to wipe those out of your mind as more than just a miss. More recently his misses have been far closer. I do think that matters a little bit. The thing I didn't expect is he's having a really hard time, and this is just how great the league is, at the rim. That's where he's making his turnovers. He's getting caught inside, and he's just not strong enough and big enough to finish. Most guys aren't. But he's in the 41st percentile of all guards finishing at the rim. He's obviously in the 0 percentile of all three-point shooting and 0 percentile shooting overall. So I would say the shooting is a bigger issue than I kind of thought. I somehow didn't think it would be that much. Shot 38% to close out the season from three at USC, and so you kind of thought maybe his 56% free throw shooting so far this year and his free throw shooting at USC, Freudian, of 67% do not bode well for that being fixed. Those are always good indicators. Again, let's not stamp a guy. But in regards to what we thought we got, a lot of it, I think he's bigger and stronger than I thought. I thought he was a little smaller when I watched him at USC. But I do think the shooting is a little bit more. I'm not worried about the turnovers. And I think they're going down the more he plays. But the 7, 8, 9 assists a game and the 5, 6, 7 rebounds a game are really incredible. And I don't think I realized just how physically strong and his ability to rebound. He averaged 3 rebounds a game at USC, and they didn't seem to be, noticeable. And now all of a sudden the NBA is grabbing a bunch. So again, Isaiah Collier rookie report, I think, is probably where we thought he was. But the surprise to me has been the court vision, playing with teammates, less offensive minded than I expected. Adapting to not being the best player on the floor really well. Very exciting. All right, let's do Cody Williams, 10th pick of the draft. This one's interesting because I think Cody Williams is probably the one where most people are like, oh, big disappointment. And certainly 31% shooting and 26% shooting from three is not great. But what I thought we got was, and I've used this analogy a ton of times, was Michelangelo talks about David, that he was inside the granite. His job was just to find it. That's how I feel about Cody Williams. There's so much skill. So much of it is being precluded by coming out because he's 183 pounds stripping wet. I don't know. It says he's 190. I'm guessing he's lost some weight. He physically is just outmatched every night. And his brother's got a huge frame and his dad's mammoth. So I'm hoping that frame kicks in. But frankly, all of the pieces of granite underneath are still there. The 1-foot jump, the drive, the length, the stretch out finish at the rim. He's changed his three a little bit. Looks like it's a little bit of a quicker release, teachable, good IQ, all those things. So as much as Cody Williams has probably been the least active of the three rookies, he's actually probably the closest to kind of exactly what I thought and why I was excited that we drafted him at 10. There's nothing that's better than expected. The one area on Cody Williams might be more of an issue than we thought. So again, the four questions I'm asking is, what do we think we got? What do we get? What's better than we expected? And what might be more of an issue than we thought? When Cody played at Colorado, he played with KJ Simpson, who was the lead point guard. He played with Tristan da Silva, who was now in Orlando. And he played with this big, huge hunking center in the middle, Lampkin or someone like that. And he was kind of the fourth best player on the floor, and they were all seniors. And he was really passive and really didn't exert himself on the game much. He did early in the year, and they broke his wrist. I think it was by the time he came back, excuse me, he was really like a fringe player. Like in regards to like, they didn't run through him. He'd have possessions where he ran up and down and didn't touch. My analysis of that at the time was that this was a guy who was playing with seniors, took his appropriate spot, and when he gets in a new environment, will assert himself. Now, we've seen a little bit out of the G League where he's gone and taken 18, 20 shots in a game. We saw a little bit the other night when he took both like double-digit shots in a game. But generally, he's been more passive, less impactful than I anticipated, and more in that mold of what we saw when he played with KJ Simpson, Tristan da Silva, and Lampkin. Well, he's playing with guys that are better than him. He's kind of taking the same role. He like literally one of the quotes from Will Hardy was, he needs to go to the G League and learn how to get tired. Like that's more of an issue that would be more of an issue than I thought for Cody Williams. That he needs to go to the G League and learn how to get tired. He needs to play to get tired. I think all these, Collier looks like he does because he's a ball. I would say Filipowski needs to do the same thing. I think sometimes these young players that are so great, their whole lives have to learn how to do that. So that's my rookie report on the three guys at the nearly 40-game mark of the NBA season. Something interesting on Tankathon. I'll look at that with you for a second. And then a late game watch on Grizzlies, Rockets, and Wolves I thought was super interesting. It's all coming up here on Locked On Jazz. Today's show is brought to you in part by Hungry Root. When it comes to grocery shopping and meal planning, it's an ongoing problem. Probably you don't have that much time between work, life, trying to eat healthy, constantly feeling stressed out with that. You go to the grocery store. What do you need? What do you not need? Yeah, it's all there. So this is where Hungry Root comes in. Game changer, easiest way to eat healthy without all the stress. Hungry Root is like having a professional shopper and a nutritionist all in one. That's kind of awesome. They take the grocery shopping, recommended meals, grocery based on your taste, health goals, anti-inflammatory, high protein, gluten-free, whatever it might be. Every meal's ready in 15 minutes or less. Quick, healthy meals that taste great. Delivered straight to your door. Pretty awesome. Huge time saver and has made eating healthy so much easier for everyone. So you're going to love Hungry Root. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box and a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA to use the code LockedOnNBA. That's hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Code LockedOnNBA to get 40% off your first box, free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. That's hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Today's show is also brought to you by Wayfair. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like going home for a little TLC. Declutter, refresh space, helps you break into routine. So whether you're tidying up, clearing up, or just want to get your space new look to start the year, Wayfair is everything you need, all within your budget. If you're looking for furniture, huge selection makes it easy to find pieces that fit your style and your budget. The free and hassle-free delivery, even with large items. Wayfair's site, so easy to navigate, and found everything you need in no time. There's something for every style of every home, no matter your space or your budget. Wayfair makes it easy to tackle your New Year's home goals with endless inspiration for every space. What's your decor style? What pick? I'm my wife's. Whatever my wife's is what I am. Just thought I'd let you know. Did Wayfair help you out in time? Yes. Delivery fee free? Yes. Gives it all to you. Give your house the refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day to the Everydayers. You are the best. Appreciate you. All right, I thought this was interesting. Maybe you all know this already. I'm going to share my screen on YouTube. When you look at the Tankathon standings, which is the reverse standings of the NBA for all those, it's at a website called Tankathon. Philadelphia is going to get out of here pretty quickly. Philadelphia is going to start winning games. They're going to get out of here. I don't know about Golden State and where they're going to fit. But you suddenly look at this. And if Philadelphia gets past Golden State, all of a sudden, after pick 10 in the draft, no one owns their own pick anymore. In fact, only 5 teams between 10 and 30 this year are going to own their own pick in the draft. And this is what I think is making the kind of discrepancy between teams that are in the quest for the playoffs and those teams that are not as extreme as it is right now. Furthermore, of the 10 teams that own their own pick, 5 of them are protected. So they've got to lose enough to make sure they keep their pick. So Washington's pick is protected 1 through 10. They're going to make sure that's all right. Charlotte's pick is protected 1 through 14. They're making sure that's all right. The Jazz pick is protected 1 through 10. Otherwise, it goes to Oklahoma City. Portland is 1 through 14, and Chicago's 1 through 10. Chicago's funky because Chicago's sitting at 9 with pick protected 1 through 10. So Washington, New Orleans, Charlotte, Toronto, Utah, Brooklyn, Portland, and then we don't know what Chicago's doing. They're seemingly trying to win. And Chicago will probably come to 8 here pretty soon. Then Golden State will probably be at 9. And we'll see what happens with San Antonio. If they get to 10, the top 10 teams all own their own pick. And then after that, every pick. Philadelphia's goes to Oklahoma City. Atlanta's goes to San Antonio. Phoenix's goes to Houston. Sacramento's goes to Atlanta. Detroit's goes to Minnesota. Miami goes to Oklahoma City. Minnesota goes to Utah. Lakers go to Atlanta. Milwaukee goes to Brooklyn. Clippers go to Oklahoma City. Denver goes to Orlando. New York goes to Brooklyn. Houston goes to Brooklyn. Oklahoma City goes to Clippers. And Cleveland goes to Utah. It's crazy. Only Boston, Memphis, Dallas, Orlando, and Indiana of playoff teams own their own pick. By the way, this also means that teams trading right now is going to be very unlikely. And if people are wanting like a first-round pick in this year's draft, well, there's only 5. Now, someone could trade these other picks. In other words, Utah could trade Cleveland or Minnesota's picks. But if you're looking at a contender and they're going to trade their first-round pick for somebody that's going to help them, well, Indiana, Orlando, Dallas, Memphis, and Boston are the only ones who have a pick this year. Now, I don't think we want a 5th, 4th pick this year. But it's just a really interesting situation, and it's also why the level of tank that is about to happen in this league in the next 40 games has never been seen before. And from a Utah Jazz standpoint, if you're pro-tank, we're way too good right now. We're playing really good basketball, and we're not anywhere near looking like those other teams. All right, I do late game watch where I watch the final 5 minutes of every close game in the NBA, or try. I'm a little behind this year. This one's been fascinating. So I was super intrigued by Memphis. They run the fewest picks of any team in the NBA. They're playing wildly fast. Those are things that don't usually translate once you get into late game, and in fact did not. So that was what was fascinating to me. So 2 notes on Memphis right now, who are the 3rd best team. They're playing in transition, a kind of a crazy number, 26% of their possessions. The league average is 18. And the next closest is Chicago at 23.5. And then only Atlanta and Toronto after that are over 21. And they're at 26. So Memphis is doing something differently than the rest of the NBA. Then, if you look at picks per game, The lead team in the league is Phoenix, runs 80 picks a game. The league average is 65. Memphis runs 35 picks a game. Denver doesn't run very many because of Jokic. They run 47. So Memphis runs half the picks of league average and 12 less than the next least of any team in the league. So I watched them play Houston late twice and play Minnesota late. And you know what they do? They run a bunch of picks. Not all the time, but a lot. Desmond Bane and John Morant kind of equally handle. They will run a post up to Jaren Jackson on the left block. That's one of their plays. But a lot of times they're running a high pick back to that game, and they're not great late. In fact, they beat Minnesota because John Morant makes two of the most remarkable shots you'll see because he's John Morant. But Memphis really bogs down, suddenly is not playing any faster than anyone else. Then clutch time, they're ninth in pace, so suddenly they've slowed down like everyone else. Their offense is not terrible. It's 18th, but what's really interesting to me is their defense falls apart. And they're 23rd in the league in defense. They're 6-11 in the clutch this year, and they look it. So I'm watching them late game right now, unless they figure this out, I'm putting a big, huge question mark on them as a second or third seed. To me, really suspect after watching them in these three games. They win one of them, they lose two of them. But more than that, they are forced into playing a game they're uncomfortable in playing. Houston is wild to me. First of all, Amen Thompson is the real deal defensively. He was all over John Morant, forced them to go through Desmond Bane and play in that style. Houston's doing some interesting things. Memphis likes to trap defensively. This is where Memphis's defense is falling apart. Memphis likes to trap defensively. So they had really good traps on Şengün in the post. And Şengün traveled and turned it over. But they'll trap up top. And at least against Houston, then Şengün catches in the middle of the floor and starts playing out of the middle of the floor. And Houston has beat Memphis 3 times this year doing that late in games. Houston does something interesting. They're playing Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet up top, and they're trying to get the matchup they want, so they're going after Luke Kennard. Then you bring the double. Then they hit Şengün in the middle, and then Amen Thompson's in the dunker. Şengün to Thompson dunk. Pretty good stuff. And then they have usually Dylan Brooks, who's not a very good shooter, tucked somewhere that you're coming off of and not guarding. Houston's floor spacing late in games is going to be problematic, but their defense is really good. They have nobody to shoot after. When they have Dylan Brooks, Fred VanVleet, Amen Thompson, Jalen Green, and Alfred Şengün on the floor, you have no one you're going after. Maybe Şengün. They don't have great rim protection, but they're flying all over the place. Minnesota was really interesting. We've talked a lot about Minnesota in late game watch. They've been bad. By the way, Houston late game has been pretty good this year. Houston is 13-8 in the clutch. Their defense is the 5th best. So it's really obvious that they just don't have someone you can go after. Their offense is not great. It's 21st, but it's got a chance. And Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet are making shots. Jalen Green's got all of it. The whole package is there for Jalen Green. 2 great driving lamps, bouncing off guys, hanging in the air, vertical, making plays. He's hit some jumpers. It's all there. It's coming together. Minnesota's interesting because I think Chris Finch has changed some things. One is he was playing high pick with Anthony Edwards up top, running a very higy pick for Rudy Gobert, and then coming downhill to a clear side, except for the 3 guys on the other side weren't good enough shooters, and so the floor was always clogged. I think we've talked about this. He's now moved Anthony Edwards to the middle of the floor. Still clogged, but it's getting a little bit more done in that regard. They're just not good enough. Like, minor stuff, but like Anthony Edwards drives, defense collapse, they swing to DiVincenzo up to the top to McDaniels, and he travels. Anthony Edwards drives, gets in the lane, gives it up to Gobert. Gobert gets fouled, he misses 2 free throws. Or he doesn't finish. And then they're kind of falling back into the Julius Randle one-on-one bully ball stuff late that's not good. So, interesting to me watching Minnesota. Minnesota's been underwhelming late game all year with their roster. Mike Conley's no longer closing games. He's no longer starting. Nickeil Alexander-Walker's come back to life a little bit. I think Minnesota's going to be a scuffle. The other thing, Minnesota just cannot hold a lead. Like, you're watching these games, Minnesota's up 7 with like 4 minutes left. You're like, okay, they got it. And next thing you know, they lose. I don't know if they've lost more leads than anyone else, but it feels like, and I don't know how to equate. Like, I will promise you, Minnesota's been up 10 or 12 in more games that then become tied than any team in the league. Their offense is just such they cannot hold a lead. So that's my late game watch on those three. My takeaway a little bit, by the way, on those watching those three, just to give you, is yes, Oklahoma City is way better than everyone else in the NBA right now on the West. That Houston and Memphis, who are 6 and 8 games back, just are not all the way there. It also tells me that Denver and Dallas are really the next two teams that are competing with Oklahoma City for the Western Conference title. That Jokic is that good, and that when Dallas gets everyone back, they will be that good. And then we'll see. The wild card to me is still Phoenix. I just can't believe they're as bad as they've looked. We'll see. That is Locked On Jazz today. Thanks so much. Make sure you subscribe to the newsletter at Locked On Daily. The Kings and Raptors are coming to get me. Locked On Daily. Subscribe if you have not done so yet. You can follow me on any of the socials at DLock09. And finally, subscribe or follow the show. Hit the bell button on YouTube so you know it's coming. Right now, we'll send you the first ever national 24/7 NBA channel, Locked On NBA, called Locked On NBA. Check out Locked On NBA every night after all the games, every game, every night on Locked On NBA Game Night.